There is now clear water in the Italian canals and clean air over China after both went into lockdown over COVID-19. It raises the question, could this pandemic actually be helping the environment? For more on that and other science stories of the day, let's go to CTV's science and technology specialist, Dan Riskin. He joins us from home. All right, Dan, we're talking about pollution getting cleared out pretty quick. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, we're all looking for a silver lining here because it's a strange time. We're all making huge sacrifices. So it would be nice to think that maybe something good is coming of this. And one thing that has already become evident is that where these lockdowns occur, there's less pollution. So if you look at the skies over China, or if you look at the skies over Italy, a measurable difference in the nitrous oxides, that's the stuff that comes out of cars, mostly from diesel, from trucks, there's been a big decrease. And certainly across Canada, fewer people are driving, and we haven't got measurements yet. But there is reason to be optimistic that, at least for the time being, the air is a little bit cleaner as a result of this.
Okay, so the air is cleaner, the water's cleaner too.
Yeah, well, so it's an interesting thing with the canals in Venice. You know, they're quite murky and you can't really see through them. And with 700,000 fewer visitors in the month of March compared to normal, and all those cruise ships not coming into the lagoon nearby, it's just not kicking up the sediments. There is much less movement in the water. And so a lot of the sediment is settled out of the water. I don't know that anyone's measured to see if the water is actually cleaner, but it's definitely clearer. So you can now see fish. And we're not the only ones that can see fish. There are birds that feed on fish that can see them as well, and they're diving after them. So cormorants have come into Venice where they haven't been before. So we're seeing some strange sort of ecological recoveries in places where people have, for the time being, stepped out of the way.
Okay, what could you see this leading to?
Well, it can go one of two ways. Either people are going to see this and smell the fresh air and realize, wow, we could be doing a lot more of this. We could be telecommuting. We could be having virtual meetings. I don't need to fly to meet with 5 people at a conference. I could do that using, some software because we were using that during the COVID events and it seemed to go fine and it would be a lot less expensive and better for the environment. So people might change their approach to different kinds of work as a result. But what's happened in the past, especially if you look at, say, the 2008 financial crisis, or you look at the 1970s with the oil crisis that happened then and the price of oil, after these kinds of events, there's often a huge recovery where the economy just booms and things like cement production go into overdrive. And when that happens, it can actually be sort of a swinging the other way. So the environment can take a big hit during the recovery. So this is an opportunity where everybody's sort of rethinking how they work and what their contributions are. We know what a global crisis feels like now firsthand, one that's on the front burner, this COVID-19. Now we can think about how, as a globe, we can conquer this economic crisis, this environmental crisis of climate change, and ask whether we can take some lessons we're learning now and apply those to the big question there.
Do you think that people have to take that on themselves, or do you think governments have to say, well, now that we see we can do this, here's what we need to do?
It's a tough question. I think people aren't going to be very hungry for governments to be locking anything down when all this is over. I think people are going to be watching very carefully to make sure that all the governments take their hands off the brakes. But I think a lot of organizations are going to realize, there's a lot of ways for us to do things that we haven't considered before. So right now I'm talking to you from the attic of my house. I can hear my kids screaming downstairs because they're stuck here as well. And, this might not be the ideal way to do it, but it does open up some options in terms of, how I can contribute if I'm out of the city. Maybe instead of flying back to do an interview with you, I can do something through telecommuting. I know your control room has fewer people in it as a result of this, which makes their jobs a little bit harder, and they're doing a great job. But, there are all kinds of efficiencies and things to think about. And maybe people could be doing stuff from home. And so I think organizations are going to see that there are different ways to do things, maybe cost savings as well. And, in my field as a scientist, I know that a lot of scientists, especially in environmental fields, are saying, hey, we're all using this virtual reality meeting now, and it's going fine. I don't know if I want to fly to more meetings so we can talk about our impact on the environment, because we're making it worse.
Yeah, it's interesting how sometimes we get forced to do the things that are actually good for us, right?
Yeah. There's a lot going on here that's hard on us, right? I mean, it's the mental health issues with being isolated are tough, but there may be some silver linings.
Got it. Dan Riskin, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.